Hi, my name's Rebecca, and welcome to my music studio. On this channel and in my studio, we spend a lot of time playing the piano and learning about how to make music every single time you sit down at the piano, whether it's your first time playing or you've been playing for a really long time. Improvisation is something that I love to do, which is great end of the day therapy for me, but it also sparks creativity when it comes to playing with chord charts and for composing different songs. So, a lot of times when people are first learning to improvise, they have questions about specifically what to do with each of their hands, whether that is different left hand patterns or playing melody and what to do with your right hand. In today's video, I'm going to show you 5 different patterns that you can do with your left hand. Now, some of these are a little bit easier if you've never played the piano before, but some of them are a little bit more complicated that you can use if you have been playing for a while and just get kind of stuck on what exactly to do with your left hand. So come over to the piano and I will show you an easy improvisation in the key of C major that I'll show you these different patterns and how they sound different when I add a right hand to it. So you may gravitate more towards one or more towards the other, but give them all a try and see what you think, because sometimes it's good to step out of the box and try something new that you maybe have never tried before. I appreciate so much all of the support that I found in YouTube land ever since I began this channel just a few months ago. If you want to support me in a free way, make sure that you are commenting below and sharing and doing all the good things. If you hit the bell icon, it'll tell you when I upload a new video. I try to do 1 to 2 videos a week. I would love to have you here to join in with our musical family. For those of you who have bought me coffee, I am so appreciative. Never feel that you have to do that. But if you do want to buy me a cup of coffee, I will be forever grateful.
For the purpose of this demonstration, we are going to be playing in the key of C major because this is the easiest to see and to play in for the beginner because it is only white notes. So the key of C major is between C and C, and I always like to start out with a scale because it teaches your hands which notes to play and which notes not to play. Now you don't have to worry about proper scale fingering, you can just use one finger. So let's start from C to C and play only white notes. And that's the key of C. Now that we know the C scale, I do have some sun coming in, so there's sun on my keys, by the way. But we know the C scale now, and we're going to talk about how to build chords from each of the notes in the C scale. So I'm going to show you the first one, how we build the first triad. A triad is a set of 3 notes and stacked on top of one another. I will show you how to form the first triad, but I'm not going to go through this for every single one. So I'll use my right hand for this because sometimes we do chords in the right and sometimes we do chords in the left. So our first note is C, because that is our home note. And we're going to now count up 3 notes. 1, 2, 3 to an E. So now we have C and E. And then from the C, we count up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that gives us a G. C, E, and G are the first notes in the number 1 chord in the key of C major. That is a C major triad. If we build a triad off of the D, this is the number 2 chord. We have D, F, and A D minor. The number 3 is E, and that's E, G, B. That is an E minor. Our next one, 4, is F, A, C, and that is a major 4 chord, an F major. And then we go up to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to G. Our triad is G, B, D, and that is a major 5 chord, a major G chord. Then we go up to number 6. That's an A, C, E. That is a minor 6 chord, and that is an A minor. Then we do number 7. At this point in our improvisation, we don't do 7s a lot. However, it's still important to talk about it. This is a diminished. It is B, D, and F, and then we are back to 1. So we understand where our chords and our chord numbers have come from now. And now I want to show you the chord progression that I'm going to be using for all of these examples. So I'm going to go through quickly just using triads. So first we always start with the chord of the key that we're in. So we're in the key of C major, so we're going to begin with a 1 chord. So that is C, E, G. Then we're going to the 4 chord. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's F. And the triad is F, A, C. Then we're going to our 2 chord, built on D, D, F, A, D minor. And then we're going to a major 5 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is G, G, B, D. And then we're going to go back to 1. So let's look at that in order. We have our 1 chord C major, 4 chord F major, 2 chord D minor, 5 chord G major, and 1 chord C major. So go through that several times so that you understand the direction, but now I'm going to give you the top 5 ways that I like to do left-hand patterns when I am improvising using that chord progression. The first way you're already very familiar with because we have already built our triads. So that is taking our stacked triads and just playing those notes together. So the way that I like to do it is just by repeating that over and over again. So this would be like doing quarter notes. Quarter notes are 1 beat each in 3, 4, 4, 4. You're just playing them over and over again like this. And then to the F major. And we repeat for all of those. So now let's look at an example of what an improvisation with our right hand looks like if you are doing repeated pattern of triads in the left hand. If you've been around my videos for the past few months, you will notice that I love doing number 2, which is representative chords. So we're going to keep this same chord progression of going from 1 to 4 to 2 to 5 to 1. But I'm going to change it now to representative chords. So representative chords are where you take the same chord. So for the first one, it is the C major, and this was our triad. But this time, we're going to make an octave of the C. Okay, so we have from C to C played with your 5 finger and your 1 finger. And then we're going to put down in the middle the 5th. So if you remember with how we built our original triad, we have the original note, and then we have a 3rd, and then from the original note we count up 5, which is a 5th. So that 5th is what we're putting our 2 finger on. So you could have a choice here. You could either do just the octave or the octave including the 5th. The other choice that you have is you could always just play it like this and hold it down, or you can arpeggiate it, which is something that I like to do. So arpeggiation just means that you are playing one note after another. And I'm not even going to give you an order that you need to play this. You don't always have to go from the bottom to the top and then top to the bottom. You could switch it up and do something like this. You can even play them together. You have that choice as you are improvising. That is something that I love about improvisation. Number 1, you get to make choices on the fly. Number 2, your choices may differ each time that you sit down to play based on your mood, based on what your hands feel like doing that day. And so you get to decide any of those things as we're playing. So let's look at what the representative chords are first, and then I'll show you the example of what an improv sounds like with using representative chords. So we saw our first one is C, G, C, and then we're going to our 4th, which was built on F. So it's F with a C in the middle. And then we went to D minor, which is D with an A in the middle. Then to G, G with a D in the middle. And then we're back to 1. So now let's look at what an improv sounds like that has representative chords. Our third choice is kind of a build on from our representative chords, or a build on from our triads, no matter how you look at it. And that is doing 4-note chords. So if we look at our original triad that we had in C major, we have C, E, and G. If you complete that chord by putting the top octave on, we have a 4-note chord. Now, I must caution you that for beginner students who are not used to playing, it is going to be kind of difficult to do a 4-note chord at first. However, with practice, this is a valid option as well. So there are different ways that we can do this. We can arpeggiate it from the bottom to the top, or you can do something that's called a rolled chord, where you play the note, hold it all the way till you get to the top like this. Or you can roll it from the top down. Any one of those things. So this is definitely a more full sound, and your left hand will be doing a lot of the work in this improvisation. But let's make sure that we know what all of these chords are before I show you what it sounds like to do full 4-note chords. All right, so our first one we've got already. And then we're going to go to an F major. So we have our triad completed at the top with our F. To the D minor, we have D, F, A, and D. Then our G major, G, B, D, G. And then we end on 1. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rolled chords for you right now so that you hear what a 4-note chord, arpeggiated rolled chord from the bottom and then held sounds like in an improvisation. Our fourth way of doing a left-handed pattern is one that sounds very large and uses all of the different octaves in the bass clef. So what I want you to start thinking of is, what are the notes of the triad? Because we're going to be playing those different notes as we go. And here's what I mean. So if you look at our first chord, our C major, we have C, E, and G. So we're going to start out as low as I can on the piano with a C octave down here. Might not even be able to see it down here, but I'm doing a C octave first. And then I'm going to bring my hands up in any order and play the rest of those notes. So here I'm doing G, C, and E, and then C, E, G. So I could have done it this way, where I do C octave, triad, inversion. So what an inversion means is that you can take the notes, the C, E, and G, and you can play them in any order. So we can play the C, E, G just like this, or we can take the C off the bottom, play it at the top, or we can take the E off the bottom and play it at the top. Any one of those is a valid C chord. And so what we're doing is we're thinking of the notes not necessarily being stacked on top of one another. Okay, so we have a C, and then we're going to an F octave, and that's F, A, C. So see, I have done the C, the F, the A, and then go into the triad. Then we have a D octave, D, F, A, and then G octave, G, B, D, and then back to our C. So this takes a little bit of thought, and you might want to practice different inversions before you begin in your left hand. So if you wanted to just practice this, I would start in a lower C, E, G and just start playing the inversions up, then E, G, C, G, C, E, and then you're back to the triad, then the E, G, C, G, C, E, and you can continue this all the way up the piano if you want to. Okay, then you do your next one where we have F, A, C, A, C, F, C, F, A, and you just continue through. The last pattern that is a great one for beginners to do is actually a left-handed pattern that became popular in the classical era, which was about from 1750 until 1820. So a composer and writer named Domenico Alberti, he was an Italian composer and singer, and he created this pattern for the left hand. It became wildly popular, and you could hear it in different pieces from the classical era. And that is where you simply take a chord, and we'll take a stacked C chord to start, and you play it in this order every time, where you are starting from the bottom note to the top note, middle note, back to the top note, and back to the bottom. So it's bottom, top, middle, top, bottom. So when you're playing this, your wrist is going to be moving back and forth this way, almost like you are turning a doorknob. Not quite to that extreme, but that is the movement of your wrist while you are doing this kind of a pattern. So it'll look like this. And then we're going to move to our next one, F, then to D minor, G, and then our C. It gives it a light and flowy type sound as we're playing. So let's give this a little try. The last thing that I'm going to do is show you an example of an improvisation. I'm going to try to hit all of these left-handed patterns within one improvisation, which it's not going to sound fantastic because I'm not going to make it go very long, but I'm going to show you how you can use different combinations of these left-handed patterns with the same chord progressions and put them within one piece. I'm going to try to hit them all. Let's see if I can remember them as I go. Okay, I tried to get all 5. Not sure I succeeded. But the point is that you do get to make choices. And every single time you play, it could be completely different. If you find yourself stuck with doing one thing over and over again, that can be kind of boring. So adding a different kind of pattern, it will greatly increase your originality and help you not become bored with the same chord progression.
I'm wondering in the comments below if you have ever tried any of these 5 different left-handed patterns. Some of them I use more often, some less often. I like having a whole variety of things to choose from as I'm working on my improvisations. You always don't have to stick with one pattern either. You can choose one and then in the middle of the song switch to something else or kind of alternate between just whatever your mood is feeling that day. That's something that I absolutely love about improvisation. Make sure to stick around for future videos where I continue to teach you all about how to play in all the different keys in the piano as we go through the circle of fifths. Additionally, I do lots of chord progressions in lots of different keys. Some of them sound very different and lyrical and lovely, and others of them sound more jazzy or loud and dramatic. So just stick around and let me know if there's anything that you'd like me to dive a little bit deeper into or if you have any questions. Until then, keep practicing and I'll see you in the next video.